What's up, YouTube? It is me, Topher Crost, here to do another deck profile. I told you guys might be getting one again soon, and here it is. I went out and I played with my deck, and the one that I did a couple weeks ago, just to see how good it would do. And it did pretty well, but I had to make some adjustments, so I figured I would update you on those adjustments. But before I get started, I just wanted to say, please check out my news and thoughts video that came out recently where you get to vote on the card that I will do a giveaway on next. So please check that video out. And speaking of that video, I just wanted to give a shout out to one of my favorite members of the community, Skullinity. I hope I said your name right. I appreciate you helping me out on that Blue Eyes thing the other day, the Blue Eyes versus Apprentice Illusion Magician. But you also are always very, very active in the comments section, letting me know what you want, and I have been working on a Dark Magician Girl version of this deck. I haven't got to it yet. I want to incorporate Dark Magician Girl, I just haven't got it perfect yet, so I didn't want to release a deck profile on it yet until I can start winning with the deck. That being all said, let's go ahead and get straight into this deck profile. Like I said, it's only going to be a little bit different than my last one, and because I did another one so recently, I'm going to run through the cards more quickly than I did the last time. Hopefully this deck profile won't be too long. Alright, so first we are going to do the monsters, and starting, oops, sorry about that, you probably heard that set on my thing. And first, for monsters, we have 3 Dark Magicians. I mean, obviously you're going to run 3 of these guys. He is the everything in this deck, so it's very, very, very good card right there. Not too much to say about him except that he is your resource, and you always want to have him on the field or in your hand to use pretty much most of the cards in this deck. Second up is Apprentice Illusion Magician. We have 3 once again. Very, very amazing card. Basically, it gets a Dark Magician into your hand, and if you need a power boost during the damage calculation, you can get that power boost. And all for a small tribute of discarding 1 card from your hand. Next up, I am still running 3 Magician's Rod. Magician's Rod is a fantastic card. Lets you search your deck for a spell and trap that lists Dark Magician in it and brings it to your hand. Very, very good. It allows you to play a lot of these cards at 1, so you only get them when you need them. So very, very nice card. He is very good search for the deck. Always want to have one in your starting hand. And next we have Chocolate Magician Girl. I run 2. She is draw power when you need draw power, and that's why I like her. Basically, if you have a spellcaster in your hand, you can discard it to draw a card, and then if somebody attacks Chocolate Magician Girl, you can half their attack, spawn a monster from the graveyard, and have the half-attacked monster attack that the monster you spawned from the graveyard. Sorry, it's hard to say the way I'm trying to say it, but I'm trying to be a little bit quicker. Next up, Magician of Dark Illusion. I know I'm trying to say Black Magician of Chaos or whatever, but here he is. Basically what he does is he acts as a Dark Magician on the field, and he can reborn Dark Magicians if you play a spell or a trap, and he can be summoned from your hand if you activate a spell and trap on your opponent's turn, which happens all the time. And if you're asking me why I'm not running 3, I don't always want to have one in my hand, because I would rather have Apprentice Illusion Magician in my hand, and I can use Magician's Navigation to get him out whenever I need him. He's basically to set up a lot of level 7 XYZ plays. Next, we have Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk is a great card when you're in a bind and have too many magic cards you can't use in your hand. Basically, you discard a magic card, you can special summon a level 4 spellcaster type monster, in this case Chocolate Magician Girl, and then you can XYZ something that you need to help you out. Especially if you don't have any Dark Magicians on the field, it's a great card. Not to mention it always comes in defense mode, which is always just kind of a nice bonus. Run 2. And last for the monsters, I'm going to throw down a Max C. I push him in and out of the deck for a Dark Illusion, or excuse me, Allure of Darkness, but very, very good card if your opponent is special summoning a lot of stuff. It's limited to 1 at the moment. It might get banned. If it does, I'll do another update, but for the most part it is there for decks that are special summoning a lot of cards to get you a good start. Very, very good to have in the start of the game, and it's just another draw power card for you. So let me get all the monsters out, but that is it for the monsters. Next up, we have the magic cards for the deck, and I am going to start out with 3. You know it's coming. Dark Magical Circle. Play a Dark Magician, and you get to banish a card once per turn, and when you play Dark Magical Circle, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and if there's a Dark Magician spell or trap, or Dark Magician, you put it into your hand. Great card. You never want to run less than 3, because you always want to have one in your opening hand. And the next, Pot of Duality. I'm running 2. With Apprentice Illusion Magician, I brought it down to 2, and I'm honestly looking for a good replacement for it, but I just haven't found anything that's as good at the moment, and I have been looking. But it's a great card nonetheless if you don't have Apprentice Illusion Magician in your starting hand. It lets you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you get to pick one and put it into your hand. The problem is you don't get to special summon, but if you have Apprentice Illusion Magician in your hand, you can go ahead and discard it, Pot of Duality, to summon the Apprentice Illusion Magician, and then you're good to go. Next is Allure of Darkness, running 2 of these guys. Allure of Darkness is a great card. Banish 1 dark monster from your hand, which I'm running a lot of in this deck, and draw 2 cards. It's as simple as that. I don't run 3 because I haven't been running a lot of dark monsters as of late. Next up is Illusion Magic. I am running it at 1 because of Apprentice Illusion Magician. That being said, it is still good to have in your deck. If you start out with a Magician's Rod in your hand and not Apprentice Illusion Magician, you can get 2 Dark Magicians in your hand so you can start making your plays. Very, very vital, but you only need 1 because it's searchable. Next up is Dark Magic Inheritance. Basically a 4th Magician's Rod for the deck. If you have 2 spell cards in the graveyard, you can use it to search for a Dark Magician spell or trap card. So that's really, really good. Next up, we have Dark Magic Expanded. I put it back in my deck, running at 1. Okay, first, Dark Magic Expanded allows one of your Dark Spellcaster type monsters to get 1,000 attack points. I had to remember the order. Second, if you have 2 or more Dark Magicians on the field or graveyard, it allows you to, it makes it to where your opponents can't destroy your spell or traps until the end of turn. They also can't activate in response to your spell or traps, so that's very, very good. It saves Eternal Soul a lot, you know, so your creatures won't die off the field. Its third effect is Dark Spellcaster type monsters you control are unaffected by spells and traps till the end of turn. Next up, we have Dark Magic Attack. Pretty self-explanatory, just kill off your opponent's back row. Very, very good card. Next up, we have Eye of Timaeus. I'm only running it at 1 because you can't, you know, it's not super helpful when you got XYZs out on the field, but for early game, it's very, very good to get that early Dark Paladin, or even late game sometimes to get Amulet Dragon out. So I run 1 just to get a quick fusion out, which is really, really good. Next up is Raigeki. I'm running it just to clear your opponent's field, to get some direct attacks through, especially just to kind of finish off the game. But it's pretty self-explanatory. Just draw all monsters on your opponent's side of the field. And last, but certainly not least, Twin Twisters. Twin Twisters, you discard 1, and you destroy 2 of your opponent's spell or trap cards on the field. Very good for the early game, because a lot of people like to run the Solemn Strike and other cards like Mystical Space Typhoon to stop your Dark Magical Circle, so always want to run 1 Twin Twisters. I've never had to use more than 1 thanks to Dark Magic Attack, but it also can get rid of like Vanity's Emptiness and stuff like that. So I'm running 1 Twin Twisters. Next, we are going on to the trap cards, and starting us out is 3 Magician Navigation. Probably the best card in the deck by far. I've said it once, I say it again. Magician's Navigation, amazing card. Lets you special summon Dark Magician from your hand, then special summon a level 7 or lower Dark Spellcaster type monster from your deck. And if this card is in the graveyard after the turn you've played it, it lets you negate a spell or trap. Very, very good. It also is a good way to save Eternal Soul. And speaking of Eternal Soul, next up we have 3 Eternal Soul. Great trap card. Basically what it does is makes your Dark Magicians unaffected by spells or traps, as long as, or your opponent's spells or traps, as long as it's on the field. And once per turn, you can either revive a Dark Magician from the graveyard, bring it from your hand, or you can get a Dark Magic Attack or 1,000 Knives from your deck. Great, great card. I always want to run 3, because if I don't have a Magician's Navigation in my starting hand, it's also good to have Eternal Soul in your starting hand. So. And I almost forgot to mention on Eternal Soul, though, don't let it die, because if it does, all your creatures die. A good way around this, though, if you know that you don't have a spell or trap to back up your creatures, is just to pull out Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. There's 500 points for killing your Eternal Soul, and it won't be destroyed by it. Alright, next up, Quaking Mirror Force. It's basically a mirror force that puts all your opponent's cards face down in defense mode, and they can't be switched back, which is really, really good, especially if you're about to get attacked by a lot of stuff. I always recommend running 3 because if they kill off a lot of your field, which is most of the metagame now, is just killing off your field as quickly as possible before they usually even attack, you are never opened, and if they have like 3 to 5 monsters on the field, you've taken away a lot of their field that they really can't do anything with. So that's really good. Run 3 of those. And last but not least, for the main deck and the trap card area, is Solemn Warning. I keep calling it Solemn Strike. It is not Solemn Strike. Earlier I said Solemn Strike. It's not Solemn Strike. It's Solemn Warning. Basically what it does, you pay 2,000 life points, and your opponent can't special summon something. A very, very good card early game. Not so much in the late game. I've never really had to use it in late game, but if you get it early game, you can prevent your opponent from summoning their boss monster, like, oh, I don't know, Cyber Dragon Infinity Cameron. Just if you're watching this. But anyway, it'll keep them from special summoning that good monster, and you can then pull something out and hopefully win the next turn, because this deck is pretty fast. And now we get to go on to the extra deck. First up, for the extra deck, we are running 1 Dark Paladin. Get it out with Eye of Timaeus, and basically what you do with it is negate spell cards and get power-ups against dragons. Very, very good for the early game, and it is a 2,900 hitter, which is not bad at all. Next, we have Amulet Dragon. When it comes into play, you banish cards, as many spell cards as you want from you and your opponent's graveyard. It gets plus 100 attack for each of them. And after it dies, because you know all cards die in the metagame, you can bring a spellcaster back from your graveyard, which is really, really good and handy. One of the combinations that I found that works the best if I want to set up an XYZ play but don't have a way to, if I have Dark Magician in the graveyard, I will use Magician of Dark Illusion, or Amulet Dragon's effect to get me a Magician of Dark Illusion from the graveyard, and then play a spell card which will reborn my Dark Magician, and then I can set up for XYZ plays. Very, very good for that, and it'll throw your opponent off guard if you use it in that way. Next up, I'm running 2 Ebon Illusion Magicians. Best XYZ card for Dark Magician, hands down in my opinion. Basically what it does is it allows you to summon a normal spellcaster type monster from your deck if you discard an XYZ material. It takes 2 level 7 spellcasters, by the way, to make, or 2 level 7 monsters, I'm sorry, it doesn't take spellcasters specifically, but I don't know why you play without spellcasters. So what you do is you discard an XYZ material, get a normal spellcaster from your deck, Dark Magician, and then when a normal spellcaster type monster attacks, you can, its effect triggers, and you can banish 1 card on the field. Very, very good, especially for getting around those big monsters that Dark Magician isn't powerful enough to get around. Also, it's a really good way to get Dark Magician on the field and use some Dark Magical Circle effects. Next up, I put 2 Big Eyes in this deck. Basically, what this card is it allows you to, for the cost of 1 XYZ material and it attacking for the turn, you can take permanent control of one of your opponent's monsters. Very, very good, especially late game, especially when you have a monster that can't be destroyed by card effects. Go ahead and just grab out Big Eye, take control of the monster, use it to kill them. You know, very, very, very good card. Next, we have the card that I always summon on main phase 2. Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. This card is really, really good. Basically, every time your opponent plays anything, and like I've said before, I'm not going to talk about the second effect because I don't have any Red Eyes cards here. But basically, when your opponent plays anything, lets off any effect, they lose 500 life points, and it can't be destroyed by card effects as long as there's an XYZ material on it, which if you're playing Dark Magicians is always, so because you can't use the second effect unless you have a Red Eyes. So that is very, very, very good. And my last rank 7 XYZ Ebon High Magician. I actually got to use him the other day in a duel. He actually won me a duel since I had a Quaking Mirror Force in my hand. And what I did is I summoned him out, and what he does, if you discard an XYZ material, you can play a quick play spell or trap from your hand straight to the field, activate it right then, which it really helped me with the Quaking Mirror Force in my hand. I didn't know if my opponent was going to destroy it, and I got nervous, so I special summoned Ebon High Magician. My Dark Magicians couldn't get past him. I was all out of Ebon Illusion Magician, so I pulled him out, and he was my clutch. He won me the game. Next up, I'm going to do Photon Strike Bouncer. Basically what I use him for is negate monster effects. You can discard a card from him and negate a monster effect, and if you do, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. And my other level, or rank 6 XYZ card is Naruto. I want to say Naruto. Naruto, the Moral Leader. Once again, for him, it's basically the same thing, except he negates magic or trap card effects. So if your opponent's playing a monster heavy deck, play Photon. If they're playing a magic or trap heavy deck, play Naruto to negate his spells and traps, so he can't really do anything. Next up is Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon. Basically, what he does is he allows you to, for 2 level 4 monsters, he lets you half your opponent's monster's attack, and then his attack gains that lost attack from your opponent's monster. Very hard to say without reading the effect directly. But it's very good for getting around those really high attack cards that you just need to attack to get through. Very easy to do with Summoner Monk. Next up we have Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer. For 1 XYZ material, he can put your opponent's card face down in defense mode, and for 2 XYZ materials, he can send it back to the deck. So very good for that card that you just need to get off the field just to get rid of. Very good, especially against like pendulum decks and stuff like that. Next we have Downward Magician, basically used for her ability to inflict piercing battle damage on your opponent. But as long as she has XYZ materials on her, she can inflict piercing battle damage. She's basically a clutch for an endgame card if you need it, and your opponent's playing really defensive. Very rarely have to use her. I've used her probably once or twice. And last but not least, if you are desperate to search for a magic card that you need and you have Summoner Monk on the field and 2 magic cards in your hand, you can use Alchemaic Magician. That is the only reason she's in the deck. She takes a lot to get out, but once you get her out, you can pretty much search for any spell card in your deck, so that's why I use her, just if I need a clutch, because I'm not getting into anything. I'll double summon Summoner Monk, summon Chocolate Magician Girl, overlay all 3 of them, and then just, you know, search for some magic cards. So that's basically why that's in the deck. But that is pretty much it for this deck profile. Like I said, it was just a little update. A lot of the things from my last deck profile are still intact on this one, and like I said, I am trying to work in one with Dark Magician Girl, because she is the coolest, and we all want her to be back in the deck. And if you haven't noticed yet, I got my secret rare Dark Magician. I found it at my local card shop, so I went ahead and bought it, so it'll be nice and shiny. You can tell it's older than the other ones because of the way the cards are formatted. But that is all for this deck profile. Please like, subscribe, and share. And just know that I will be doing more and more videos when I have a chance. My life is about to get really busy over the summer, but I figure I would, you know, start doing quantity videos or quality videos over quantity videos. So I'm going to be posting a lot less, but I'm going to be doing a lot more videos that you guys want to see. So have yourselves a nice night. I will see you soon. Topher Crost out.